Mayor, we live.
Great, thank you. So today is January 19th, 2022. The time is 7:10 p.m. and I'm calling to order the Baldwin Park City Council virtual regular meeting. And then let's see, Mayor Pro Tem, would you like to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, you didn't even count me in. Caught me off guard.
Sorry.
And then I don't know, is there anybody signed on that can do an invocation? Does anybody know? Okay, it appears not, so we'll skip that for today. And then City Clerk, roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Alejandra Avila. Are you muted?
Oh, she's muted. She's here.
Okay. Councilmember Monica Garcia.
Here.
Councilmember Paul Hernandez.
Present.
Sorry.
Mayor Pro Tem Daniel Damian.
Here.
Mayor Emmanuel Estrada.
Here.
And City Treasurer Marie Contreras. She's here.
She's here, yeah, she's muted, but yeah, she's definitely here. So Robert, is there anything to report out from closed session?
Thank you, Mayor. The council did consider multiple items in closed session, and staff did receive direction. However, there was no final action taken, therefore no reportable action. And that concludes my report for the closed session that occurred.
Great. And then it is currently on recess, so we will be joining again.
Yes, that is correct, Mayor. We have not closed session.
Great, thank you. And then announcements, the City Council are also members of the Board of Directors of the Housing Authority and Finance Authority, which are concurrently convening with the City Council this evening, and each council member is paid an additional stipend of $30 for attending the Housing Authority meeting and $50 for attending the Finance Authority meeting. At this moment, I do believe we have a presentation from Jaime Espinosa regarding Hope Fest for Baldwin Park, and he is part of Project Hope. Oh, you are on mute, Jaime.
Okay, there we go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members and everyone here. So yeah, I wanted to come on and just kind of share a presentation of we would love to do a Hope Fest community event there in the city of Baldwin Park. I did talk to Councilman Daniel Damian, kind of the vision we have. So we did one in Pomona recently, and did one in Vegas last year and Selma. And so basically what we do is just we look for a park in the city where we can come out, and we provide bring a team of barbers. We provide free haircuts, free clothing, free groceries, free shoes, free baby needs, essentials, diapers, wipes. And then we also do a free concert. We provide a kid zone. And then one of the big things we do is we tap into the local resources that are there in the community, in Baldwin Park, in LA County. We try to bring everybody out to the park to set up a booth, an exhibition booth, and kind of just bring greater awareness to the people in the community there at Baldwin Park of what resources are available for them. So like I said, we just did our last one was in Pomona. We had over 25, close to 30 resource booths that were out there, from the district attorney's office to local resources to NAACP. We had a lot of resources, a lot of time in community. It was a great event. We had maybe 500 to 600 community members that came out. And we would love, at Project Hope, we would love to do one there in the city of Baldwin Park. And so, we would love to do one there. And it takes about a good 4 months, to plan and prepare. And all our events are put on by sponsors. And so it takes us a little bit of time to get the word out, promote it, get some sponsorships, and do all that good stuff. But yeah, like I said, we would love to do something there in the city of Baldwin Park.
Great. I think that's a great idea. And then you are doing a presentation, correct? So that I'll save my comments for the end.
Well, no, I mean, just basically, so that's
okay.
That's what we do is so, Mr. Mayor and Council Member Daniel, you guys went to the one we did at the Baldwin Park Church. So it's kind of the same thing, but bigger. bigger scope. Just we love doing it in a park in the city. It's somewhere where it's out in the open, and really just that's pretty much what we do. So our team, the Project Hope team will come out. We'll bring out the barbers. We'll bring out the groceries, the clothing, shoes, whatever we can get to bring into the community, we'll bring it. And then the resources are the big part of the event, because that's one of the things that we love to see is the community and the organizations, faith-based, non-faith-based, social services, whatever we can bring into that community and have them out there. We had also job placement. Chartwell Staffing was out at the one in Pomona, and they had people applying for jobs. So we're all about empowering the community and helping people. So this is something that we can envision being a great event that could possibly be something we can do every year in the city of Baldwin Park.
Yeah, and oh yes, Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead.
And just really quick, I did watch some of the videos that he sent. He does have a website for his nonprofit. Just picture it as a typical concert at the park, right? You have your, when we have our concerts at the park, we normally have our stage up there where, the concert is at. And then you have all of our small businesses with their vendors in the park area. But instead of these being vendors actually selling items, these will be, resources and different types of vendors that are going to be giving away a lot of these items for our community. We can also work with Hilda Solis's office and bring in vaccination sites to that event. I don't know the schedule. He would have to schedule with Manny to see what it would look like, because obviously we started concerts in the park in June. So maybe this could be something that'll kind of kick off our concerts in the park maybe a week prior, because it would be on the weekend. Just kind of bounce out ideas like that. But this would be something that would bring a lot of resources and a lot of information to our residents that would be beneficial. And basically we would just co-host it in the way to where we would basically provide the facility for them. And I believe Manny, he has more information on this.
Yes, Mayor. Go ahead, Mr. Espinosa.
Okay, I did want to mention, and I forgot to, so at these events that we do have, the Hope Fest events, everything is free. So we don't sell anything to the community. The community members don't have to pay to come in there to enjoy the concert. Everything is free. We give away the clothing, the dive, everything's free. We believe in giving back to the community, and so that's another thing with our events. They're 100% free to the people.
Mayor?
Yes, hold on. I think Manny was going to make a comment.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Carrillo.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I would like to have an opportunity to be with Mr. Espinosa, and we could collaborate together and figure out a game plan, and then I could bring back a staff report at a subsequent city council meeting, and then the city council will have an opportunity to formally approve the proposed project with the budget and all the particulars.
Okay. And then Councilmember Avila, did you have a comment?
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Jaime, for being here. I did go to that fest as well as Enrique, and I was very impressed. I went through the booths that you offered, brand new clothes with tags still on there. You had grocery bags already packed for the families to take. You did have all that information that the barber, everything that you mentioned. It was really nice. And considering that it was a small space that you held it at the church, you provided a lot for the community, and there everybody was very happy. You had music, like Danny said, it was like a concert. It was a concert. Everybody was happy because they were enjoying music. They were enjoying food. They had free clothes, free food to take home, and a lot of resources, which is what a lot of people need, resources. So thank you, Jaime. It is a great event that you hold. It was a smaller version of it here in Baldwin Park compared to what I saw on your postings that you did in Pomona, but I think it would be great to have it here in the city of Baldwin Park, if we can collaborate once you get together with Manny and put everything together. I think it would be great for us. Thank you, Jaime, for letting us know.
Thank you. And it was good to have you all at the one there at the church, but the one that we envisioned there at the park, in Baldwin Park is something a lot bigger with a lot more resources. So that's big to us, my wife and I, and our team. You know, besides the giveaways that we give away and everything, the basic needs that people need, right, is bringing out the resources in the community and things that, you know, different things that can help people. So we even had in Pomona, we did have a vaccination site there. We did go through the office of Hilda Solis, and it was just an awesome there.
Yes, thank you, Jaime.
And so I do want to, commend Jaime and his wife, and then Octavio and his wife. You know, Living Word, where you host these events, the old VFW Center, and it's not just one or two. I mean, you know, I think we went to the first one like in early January, I think, and I know that you've had multiple since then, and it's all for the community, and I think it's great, you know, and you know, I want to show my appreciation because you guys have been great neighbors to the city of Baldwin Park. You know, you just had them for Christmas, and I stopped by for the toy drive, but I wasn't able to make it for the actual giveaway, which I thought was neat because you know, it's hard times for a lot of people, and it's nice to see that you are all over the place. I think I saw one a little further out, I think towards the desert area. I'm not sure where it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you know, and so, you know, I'm thankful that you are you know, that you're a great neighbor to the city, but also that you're very involved and you're always looking to partner with us in any way that we can. I think we mentioned to you the idea of I think we might have mentioned it how it came about, the idea of converting one of our rooms in the community center into a music room. And then you let us know that you also have mentorship programs that are musically inclined. So, you know, want everybody to know Project Hope goes beyond just the festivals, right? You're also doing mentorships in schools. You're partnering, I think, with Pomona Unified School District. So you yourself have a lot of great programs under your organization, which I think, you know, we want to look into as well. And I'm sure, you know, Manny will set up time so we can learn more about those as well as we move forward.
Yeah, we're interested. Like you were saying, we do have a creative mentoring program at the school, at the sales school, the School of Extended Educational Opportunities. And it's a music class Mondays and Fridays from 12 to 2. And we teach kids how to play instruments, any instrument really that they want to play. And yeah, we would love to also do that in Baldwin Park too.
Great. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Hernandez.
Thank you, Jaime. I'm going to take you up on that offer because I've always wanted to be a drummer. So that or the harp. So hook me up and I'll be there on Mondays and Fridays for sure.
You got to be the first harp player, but that'll
always the first between me and the mayor, and you know, we can get a band here going together here in Baldwin Park on the council. I have
a drum set at home. We can start practicing now.
Bring it over.
And think about all the money we'll save at the street market, huh?
Thank you again, Jaime, for everything you guys are doing. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you for being here, and thank you for everything that you do, because I know you do a lot.
Thank you. And real quick, Mr. Mayor, I see the 2 boxes of hot Cheetos behind you.
Yes. And so I show it off to everybody in all of my Zoom meetings. So I did get a hot Cheetos box. As we all know, there may or may not be a shortage of hot Cheetos in the world. Jaime, you know, because he does so many great things. He has a lot of connections. He had Richard, the creator of hot Cheetos at the last event, which was at the toy drive, and I was able to get a box. I do have the nice recognition plaque he gave me right there. So thank you, Jaime.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on and for letting me share, and hopefully we can partner, and we look forward to partnering. We have a special love for the city of Baldwin Park, my wife and I. So, you know, we're available.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jaime. Thank you, wife, Pastor Octavio and his wife as well.
Thank you, guys.
Great. So at this moment, I will open up public communications. City Clerk, is there anybody looking to speak?
Yes,
Mayor, before we do that, I'd like to close on behalf of some individuals.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So first of all, I do want to close on behalf of former Mayor Betty Lowe's, who passed away at the end of December at the age of 89, a longtime resident. She was the first woman to be elected to mayor in the city of Baldwin Park. And, you know, like I said, a longtime resident, raised her family. I attended school with one of her sons. And, you know, it was a loss for our community, but definitely want to extend our condolences to the Lowe's family. And I also want to close on behalf of Louise Duran. She is the sister of Cecilia Bernal, our commissioner. And Cecilia was, Louise, excuse me, was a true warrior in as she battled breast cancer for many years, and she overcame. And unfortunately, she did go into remission, and then unfortunately it did come back. And so she passed away January 29th of this year. And we want to give our condolences to the Duran family, and just make sure that we send our support as a city, because we do have a family member in Cecilia Bernal who has been a strong ally to our community, and we want to make sure that they feel as supported as possible. And then finally, I want to give condolences and close on behalf of the individuals that perished in a house fire in January on Clark Street. I believe it's the Rodriguez family. I don't have the names, but I do want to extend our condolences to the Rodriguez family and offer our support in any way possible as they were displaced and, as they get through this very challenging time. So our condolences on behalf of the city of Baldwin Park, and we close on their behalf. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that, Councilmember Garcia.
And Mayor, if
yes,
I may echo on Councilmember Garcia, I believe the family was Cecilia Perez and Alan, the people who had passed away at the house fire on Clark Street. So my condolences to their family as well as to Tim and the Lowe's family and Cecilia Bernal and all of the Bernal family for their loss. I want to just send the condolences to those families. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, thank you. And I agree. We want to send our condolences. When I found out about Betty Lowe's, I knew who she was. I didn't know her, but I did get to virtually meet some of her family members. I believe I also met her daughter-in-law, and they're very nice, and they even shared some of the pictures of her when she was mayor, and it was very nice to see that. I did share them with Manny. I think Manny got to speak to the family, and I believe the city did send out some flowers on the city's behalf. So I want to thank staff for that, and of course our condolences to the Lowe's family. She was our very first elected mayor, woman mayor, which is very big. And speaking of that, I do want to make sure that that the city look at how we can recognize Betty Lowe's. And then,
Mayor?
so give me 1 second, okay?
Thank you, sorry.
Sorry about that. And then of course, Luis Duran. The Duran family has been phenomenal, and they have been great neighbors. They're always out every Thursday, and I think every now and then on Saturday they're delivering meals to seniors. They've been really great neighbors to the community as a whole. So we do want to lend our support to them when they need it the most. Our condolences, and I know that Cecilia is our she's one of our commissioners as well. So we want to support her. We want to support her as much as possible, along with the rest of the Duran family. Councilmember Avila, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to send my condolences to the family that lost loved ones at the fire. So my condolences go out to the family, as well as the Lowe's family. Tim is a friend of mine, and we've been friends for many years. It's funny though, at one point, I didn't know his mom had been mayor of Baldwin Park until years later, but they are a beautiful family. I also want to send my condolences to the family of Louise Duran. Louise was a former Baldwin Park employee. She was well loved by students. She came across many families and touched many families. So my condolences to the whole family, her son, her sister, everybody that she was involved with. So my condolences to all. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And before I forget, I do want to thank PD, because PD did go out and show their support for Louise when they had her celebration parade. So I want to thank PD for doing that, and also being supportive of the family.
And just one more thing, Mayor, before we go on to the consent or public speaking. Manny, I wanted to see if Manny, I know that last year we proclaimed February 22nd as David Gaither Day to the family, and just wanted to see, Manny, if there was any possibility that we can add his name to the marquee on February 22nd to honor him and his family?
Sure, with council consensus, we could go ahead and move forward with that.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Great. Chief Deputy City Clerk, was there anybody looking to speak during public communication?
you.
Yes, Mayor. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, we have three speakers, Catherine Lozier, the librarian, John Rios, and Javier Navarro, and I'll defer to the deputy city clerk.
Thank you. Let me try Catherine first. One moment.
Mr. Mayor, really quickly, as we bring on our librarian, can we just kind of hold on to her for a few minutes, for a minute, excuse me, or a few seconds? I just want to mention some little items for her, if that's
Yeah,
okay.
that's fine. Just don't let her hang up.
If you can just give the preamble to her, I appreciate it. Before she
Oh,
gets
okay,
on.
sure. I was gonna double check with the Lulu. Am I doing the speaking or is a city clerk? Because I know you normally do it when we're in person.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I was trying to link her and I don't think it worked. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay. One moment.
Oh,
I think I can link you now. Go ahead. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, community partners, and fellow community members. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. The Baldwin Park Library is still open and providing select in-person service to our community on Tuesdays, noon to 8, Wednesdays through Saturday, 10 to 6. And the following services are available for customers. You can browse and check out items, use a public computer for up to 1 hour per day. You can print and make photocopies, and up to 10 pages are free per day. You can pick up your holds, and staff are available for brief interactions, helping to find materials and information. And we have Wi-Fi both in the library and spread throughout our parking lot. To help slow the spread of COVID-19, the LA County libraries are operating at just 50% capacity, our headcount in the building for the month of January, and in-person events are canceled until further notice. And sidewalk service is still available on request for holds or printing pickup during the library's operational hours. and our digital library is always open and available. The most up-to-date information on available library services and hours is on the LA County website at lacountylibrary.org. And then I also wanted to take a quick moment to talk about two special programs we have for January. Now, every Friday we have Smarty Pants story time for preschoolers and their caregivers. On Friday, January 28th, we have a special one for Lunar New Year. Families can celebrate Lunar New Year with books and songs, rhymes, movements, while learning about school readiness skills and having fun. And then part of our special Trailblazers in Conversation series, on Thursday, January 27th from 7 to 8, Patrice Cullors and Angela Davis will be having a discussion. Patrice Cullors has her latest book. It's an abolitionist handbook, which charts the framework for how everyday activists can effectively fight for an abolitionist present and future, with relatable information on the history of abolition, a reimagining of what reparations would look like for Black lives, and real life anecdotes. And this program is in partnership with the California African American Museum and will be moderated by our own LA County Library Director, Sky Patrick. For more information on this program, you can visit caamuseum.org/programs, or you can also find it on the library's website at lacountylibrary.org. Thank you all so much and have a great evening.
Great. So don't hang up, Catherine. Can you hear me?
I'm here.
Great. So Councilmember Hernandez did have some questions and comments for you. So I want to hold you for a little bit.
Oh,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Catherine. The library is such a huge resource in our city, in our community. I wanted to see if perhaps, if we can work with Manny and the rest of the council to perhaps, create some sort of reading challenge for our young adults, primarily perhaps, our elementary students. As we move towards spring breaks and the summer months, I want to see if there's a way in which we can challenge our young little leaders in our city to be able to, it's either a reading challenge or word count challenge or whatever the case may be. But perhaps we could do something in and around that where we can provide, prizes as needed. And I'd be happy to, and I'm sure my colleagues would be happy to donate, whatever prize, wish list that you believe might entice these young individuals to read. But if that's something that, if you'd be open to, at least on my side, I'd be certainly willing to help support in any which way I can. Because again, I understand the value that our library provides. And, you're obviously well attuned with our community and always, paying, your respects to the council and the rest of the community when you come out here. Is that something that sounds of interest to you, Catherine?
Well, for things like that, I would have to work with my administration, but we do have a spring and summer reading program every year. So I don't have a launch date yet, but we are on the same page with challenge for families. And this would be not only for children, but also for children, teens, and adults, our spring and summer reading program. But what I can do is talk to my administration and reach out to Manny.
Perfect. I'll let the giant brains, figure that out. And then however that works, please come back to us so we could certainly promote that on all of our social platforms, our marquee and so forth, to really, galvanize these young individuals to utilize and leverage your facilities as much as possible.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it.
Great, thank you. And thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Ms. Lowe.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So the next caller is John Rios. One moment. Okay, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and start. You have 3 minutes.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a translator.
Oh, okay, one moment. Mark, can we bring the translator into this channel? I don't know how soon that can happen.
Luis, you ready?
Okay, we're gonna give you 6 minutes. Luis, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, I am.
okay, thank you, Luis. Mr. Rios, Luis is here to translate for you. We're gonna give you 6 minutes and we're gonna do it at the pace of Luis. Go ahead.
Okay. I just want to bring up a couple of things from that's been happening in the city. I usually go around the city and take a drive and see how everything's going. And for the past, I would say, month and a half, I've been seeing a lot of trash all over the place. That's one of the biggest things that's been happening. Even in my area, against the freeway, on Petrini and stuff again, all that area is very bad next to the.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Rios, but because you're speaking in English, we have the translator in a Spanish channel. Did you want to speak in Spanish so you can translate into English?
I'd rather talk in English.
Okay, then let me have the translator go back to the Spanish channel because we don't have anybody there to translate into Spanish. I'm sorry, Mr. Rios, but when you ask to be to have a translator, it's if you're speaking in another language to be translated into English. We have somebody, because we're working remotely from home, we have somebody in the Spanish channel who is already translating simultaneously what you're saying into Spanish.
Okay.
Okay, so give me 1 minute. Let me go ahead and have him go back in. Okay, go ahead. You can continue, Mr. Rios.
Okay, so that's one of the biggest problems that I've been seeing in the city. Ramona Parkway, we see furniture all over. Virginia Street, next to In-N-Out warehouses. It's all. I've never seen it this bad. I've been here in Baldwin Park for 45 years, and I never have seen it this bad. And another thing is that talking to my neighbors, the ex-mayor has been coming around Walnut Creek and talking to them and saying, bringing issues to them. And so they come to me and they tell me about it. And I had placed a call and I talked to Danny for the mayor to give me a call. He never gave me a call. I called the CEO and he never gave me a call either. The reason I'm really upset is another thing that happened during this testing at Kaiser. The police department was blocked off our whole street. There's only one way in and one way out from right here. And the people needed to go to work. So they took, in other words, they took the law into their hands and they went on the opposite side. And one of the things that they noticed, the police department told them, hold on, what the hell you guys are doing? So they kept them in there for around 15 minutes. They should have notified the community that there was going to be that much traffic and to take, the opposite side of the street to get out of here because they needed to go to work. Some of the people that I talked to, they were an hour late, hour and a half late. But those are the little things that, the police department should have let us know. They should have put signs, we're going to have traffic control. They did that for 2 days and then they turned around and they put the traffic on Neymar, which it was fine and dandy. Then the people from the area could get out and go to work. But those are the little things that the police department should notify the community. Not act, but just because you have a badge, you have to understand that they have to report to the community. They work for the community. They'll not hold the traffic, you hold them for 15, 20 minutes. That's one of the biggest problems.
Okay.
It was right there.
Thank you, Mr. Rios. Your time's up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next caller is Javier Navarro. Let me try him now. Okay, your time begins when you start speaking. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Okay. Good evening, Mayor and council members. What I want to talk about tonight is it's the new lights down on Ramona. If I'm not mistaken, it's been around 6 months since they were put in. I don't know if any of you council members are aware, or if you even been out looking at those lights. About over 25% of those lights are not working correctly. Some are lit, some are not, but it's been over 6 months. I don't know how much the city paid for those, but you're talking about 6 months, something that's not working. I talked to Sam about this. I put it on the Baldwin Park Connect. Nothing's been done about it. And then, you're talking about the concerts coming up. Are you still going to have lights out? Sam, I don't know who's responsible for this, but at the end of after the public comments, can you please let the public know who's responsible for this? How much those street lights cost? How much labor for something that's not working close to 6 months, 25%? And again, I don't know if any of you council members know about this. Who's responsible for this? Sam, you got my phone number. I'll be glad to go out with somebody at night, not during the daytime, because you won't notice these things during the daylight. I'll be glad to go out with somebody and point out all these things out. I mean, I can see maybe a month, but you're talking about 6 months now. You got lights on top of tree branches. Even if they're lit, no light reaches the ground. I mean, it's just ridiculous, that nobody does any check after something gets installed. There's no follow-up on this. Who's responsible for this? That's what I have to say. I'll hear your comments afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, that concludes our public comment.
Great, thank you. So at this moment, I will close public communication. We had 2 callers. So Sam, we just look into the light issue. I know still going through some. I don't think that project is complete yet, but you can double check into that and make sure our residents are okay with that. Mr. Rios, Mr. Rios is always involved, and I always try to listen to him. I wasn't aware that you told Mayor Pro Tem to call me, but if you send me an email or you reach out to our office, I am pretty easy to get a hold of. I do return calls and I respond to emails. And I also meet with the residents in a safe manner whenever they'd like me to. I think I've been very open and transparent about everything I do. People out there throwing up issues. I mean, it's election year, right? And certain individuals didn't leave too happy. So that's expected. But if anybody has any questions or concerns regarding what the city has done or what I myself have done, I'm more than glad to answer that. And I believe staff will be as well. 2021, was a big year for the city. We've done a lot of changes. Some things are out of our control, but we've done our best to mitigate it. I pass by Patriti, so I know when you talk about, I see the trash and I see it off the off ramp. However, I think city staff isn't allowed to go there because it's Caltrans, and then we're dealing with multi-jurisdictional issues. But our city is doing everything we can to keep it clean and keep up to date. When it comes to the Kaiser thing, I do want to let you know that the city was unaware of it, and PD did respond as soon as they could, and they did set up a plan, and they met with Kaiser, and there was a whole team effort there to mitigate that. So I don't want, so I think PD did really well, and we are on a crunch. So with our limited capacity and our limited officers, they have responded to a multitude of issues fairly well. So but there's always room for improvement. So we'll check with Chief and find out what we're working on. But I'm confident that all of those issues have a very reasonable response to them. And I think that was all of our callers. So at this moment, I believe I closed public communication.
Mayor, if I may just address the comment made by Mr. Rios. With all due respect to Mr. Rios, I do take many calls from concerned residents regarding different situations around the city. One of his concerns I took into consideration. However, the comment that he mentioned about former Mayor Lozano being at Walnut Creek, those are things that I'm not going to get involved with. That's more of a political issue versus a real residential issue within our community. So that's the reason why I did not take the liberty to address that specific issue with the call that I received, which is why there was no call to you, Mayor. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Yeah, of course, city council is to run official city business, as you're elected. So that's why I did comment on that. So as your elected official, I am here to represent you, meet with you. I've met with a multitude of residents, phone call, email in our office, in any way they feel safe and getting their questions answered, said that backwards. And then of course, sometimes we might get a little bit busy and you might not get a response right away, but you will get a response from us or our staff. Always make sure that staff is aware of the issues of our residents, and I have seen staff be very responsive to them as well. So I do want to thank staff for being diligent on that, because I know it is a little bit difficult with everything going on, and of course for keeping the wheels turning here at City Hall. So thank you, and thank you for clarifying, Mayor Pro Tem. So at this moment,
Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you. I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank our police department actually for providing a little bit more order than there would have been at Kaiser Permanente during a week or two that was very chaotic for a lot of families, not just in Baldwin Park, but with the surge of Omicron, families were scurrying to get tests, and I was hearing stories about waiting in line for 6 hours and waiting for days to get test results. So this was, it just kind of grew organically, but I do want to thank our city leadership and our police department, Chief Lopez, for helping to keep order, because I did hear about people that were in line and it could have gotten really chaotic very quickly. But, I do appreciate that our police stepped in to partner with Kaiser and really respond to a public health crisis. And they did it, in partnership with Kaiser. And I think that it did offer order. I do understand that the neighborhood was impacted, and unfortunately, there are some things that we just can't control, in a situation like that, except to try and keep things orderly. So hopefully we will learn, how to deploy resources in a way, like in the future, if that happens, that the neighborhood would be more informed, so that, I understand there are alternative routes that can be identified and used. I know I went to Walnut Creek Nature Park around that time, and I used the Mosquito or the Fraser Bridge. And so, I just happened to know that path, but if I didn't, I would have been in the throes of all that traffic. So I can appreciate the concern that Mr. Rios brought to the council this evening. And, perhaps in the future, we've learned some lessons from what we just experienced this past month, and we can inform the neighborhood a little bit more. But overall, I am very proud that our PD stepped in and partnered with Kaiser in the way that they did. But I also have some concerns with regard to some incidents that have taken place in January. And there have been at least a couple of shootings that I have been aware of. And it is a concern of mine. I want to make sure that we as a council are doing everything that we can to address what feels like an increase in this type of gang activity. And I believe it feels, because I haven't received any data on it, it feels like we have experienced an increase beginning last January. So it's now been a year, and I want to make sure that this council is looking at, we're requesting the briefings, we're providing the chief with what he needs, we're understanding clearly what is needed to, staff our units so that we can respond to this gang activity. And I'll tell you that the reason why I feel so impassioned about this item is because I grew up in this community at a time when the North Side, East Side gang rivalry was alive and well. I saw young men killed and tortured, behind my mom's home. I had friends who were shot and killed. I don't want to see any of that happening in our community. And I think that we saw improvement in the late 90s. I do remember that in the late 90s, another young man was shot and killed behind my mom's home, 15 years old and gang related. And so, again, that was curtailed for the most part in the 90s. We've experienced a nice lull in this type of activity. And for, I guess up until about a year ago. And I want to make sure that what we're doing, here in this council is that we are being proactive, and that we're asking, what is it that is happening? What are we doing? How are we bolstering the force? Where are we allocating resources? I really need us to start prioritizing this conversation, because I don't want to see what happened, when I was growing up. I don't want kids to be experiencing that either. And not only, is it traumatic for a community, and it puts the community at risk, but it also impacts economic development, which we have experienced, a boom of economic development in the last 20 years for that reason, because it correlates with our public safety and, just the public health in general. So I want to really stress, and I have, nudged here and there over the last year. I've asked for briefings. I've mentioned it here on the council, and I'm really asking this council to really prioritize this at this point, because, I have felt like it's about a year that we've seen an increase, and it seems like it might be, getting worse. And let's just nip it in the bud right now while we can. So, it's unfortunate that I have to bring this up in the regular session, but because we didn't make the time in closed session, again, because it wasn't prioritized. So I want to be really clear that it is a top concern of mine that we get on this, and that we don't point fingers to the past, because this has been happening in the last year. We went through a budget cycle, and what did we do to prioritize, budgets in a way that addresses this gang activity? So, let's really, let's step up here and let's start tackling this as a council. This is where the leadership, these are the pivotal moments that are important for our community, that have ripple effects across the community, including economic development. But most importantly, the safety of our residents.
Great.
Mayor, if I may?
Real quick, if I can, before you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Is Chief on the call right now? Or is, because I know Captain Hofford is here, right?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
So can you answer a couple of questions for me, if that's okay with you?
I'll do my best.
Okay, and then, we'll hear from Chief later. So first off, this has been a real issue for all of us, reorganizing the police department. We're all aware of the accusations that have been going on, the loss of money, the constant turnover in police chiefs. And, I personally don't like the implications that are being made. Chief Lopez has worked diligently, and unfortunately, because of the past, and the past does affect the now, and that's something that we have to understand. Chief doesn't just focus on the public safety piece. We will reorganize our department. We're going through a lot of things. A lot of our money goes to lawsuits. Each lawsuit costs the city $700,000 to defend. So, if we're going to talk about this in open session, I don't mind it, but we need to be really transparent about it. Commander Hofford, can you tell me about some of the task force? Is that something you can tell me about in open session?
Yes, one thing that we're lacking and we've lacked for the last about 2 years is membership on different task forces. Many of them are narcotics related task forces. However, membership in those task forces brings manpower to Baldwin Park when we have a particular need for it. And oftentimes these types of teams can be assigned to focus on various problems in the city. Great. So not having any personnel on these task forces hurts us because we're not able to get resources from other agencies that we're able to get in the past.
Great. So, and I think one of those was the narcotics task force, right? And so can you tell me a little bit about the task force? Do we have one now?
The task forces still exist. We do not have any personnel on them, and we have not, as I said, for about 2 years now. They are county level and federal level task forces, and actually state level as well.
Great. And so, from my understanding, narcotics, they were able to seize items, and then they were able to keep a lot of the cash, right? Which funded a lot of the improvements in police infrastructure.
Yes, sir. Asset forfeiture has been a big benefit to all of law enforcement, and it's correct that we are no longer benefiting from that.
Great. And then, so can you tell me when that task force got depleted?
This is approximately 2 years ago.
Okay, so 2019?
Yeah, mid 2019.
Great. And then can you tell me about the gang task force? How many detectives we have on there? How many we had in 2019 and what happened?
We had 2 gang detectives. We have 2 gang detectives now. We had 2 gang detectives back in 2019. However, we also had our own in-house narcotics surveillance team called the Special Investigations Unit. And they often worked hand in hand. Gang members are oftentimes involved in narcotics. And so the caseload kind of bleeds over from one assignment in detectives to the other. And because we no longer have that in-house task force, our 2 gang detectives work on their own, and they do a fantastic job with the caseload that they have. But again, they're dealing with having reduced resources to call upon.
Great, thank you. So our gang task force has been depleted to 2 detectives to take care of everything else, correct? So they're taking care of gambling situations, gangs, graffiti.
Yes, sir, because we don't have the Special Investigations Unit anymore in-house. Our gang detectives are also being tasked with narcotics cases and, like you say, other vice cases such as gambling as well.
Great. Thank you.
Yes,
so, and then just for the record, Captain Hofford, you see me in PD all the time, right? So I am talking to Chief on the daily, and I don't know about the other council members. Everybody has access to that department. So just not telling you to say it, but you've seen me down there.
Yes, sir, I have.
Great, thank you. So, and that's just some of it. I will be asking our chief of police for a full report so that we understand how this works. Public safety doesn't change from one day to the next. There seems to have been a multitude of defunding in 2019 that froze a multitude of positions. I think 15. The council actually unfroze 7 in the past budget, and we were all there, so we know that. Over the past year, we've invested over $1.2 million in increasing our count, and we've upgraded our police vehicles, we've upgraded equipment, and we're now working with Flock to install Alpers to be able to give the resources our officers need to them so that they can keep our city safe. It's been an issue for me. Public safety is important, and we can't sit here and politicize it. And if we have something, then by all means, if you have a solution, I want to hear it and we can work towards it. I believe we will be hearing from our chief later on in closed session, what we'll come back to. We didn't talk about it earlier, not because we didn't care about it, but because we had 15 minutes before we started this meeting. And this isn't an issue that's going to be taken care of in 15 minutes. As council members, every single one of us gets $3,000 a month. And the least we can do is spend a couple of hours in city council meetings, a little bit more than we used to. And that's part of the job. We're on a stipend, we're not on an hourly. So, I don't like the idea of misinformation, especially when it comes to PD. Public safety in Baldwin Park has been scrutinized for far too long, and we are making strides and we're making great changes, and our chief of police has been diligent and committed to the department. And I would never want to see our chief take on blame that he doesn't deserve, or any of our PD officers. I've spent some time with them. I've asked them what they need. I go on ride-alongs with them, and I think that they do a great job with the little resources and the little team that they have, and they get things done. So public safety is important, and we will keep talking about it. But I just want to make sure that people are understanding of what the task at hand actually is. So with that being said, let's go to consent calendar.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you. So what I've heard Captain Hofford say is that we have had 2 gang detectives. That has not changed, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So that has always been. What changed in what you're saying is mid 2019 was the Special Investigations Unit. So my question is, with the task force approach with parole sweeps and all of that, is that something that our gang detectives can engage in, like you said, at the local, multi-department level, with the county, perhaps the sheriff's department, like you said, with the state or federal task force? Can our gang detectives still engage with those task force activities?
They can interact with them, but we're not going to receive the benefit of the manpower being loaned to us. That only happens when we have a full-time detective assigned to the task force full-time. We have had our gang detectives actually reach out to other local agencies and try to partner on some cases to increase the manpower that we can muster ourselves without having people on a task force. And that's something that we've seen some results with. It's not nearly as effective as having people on task forces, but we're making do with what we have, and we're trying to partner with other local agencies.
Okay, because I know that we have loaned our personnel to other agencies, and I know that other agencies have joined in regional task force operations that we've been part of, even more recently, I think last year with parole sweeps. So I think what is important is for us to understand, what do we have? What are the resources that are available to us currently? Where can those be bolstered, like I said previously? And what is happening, and how are we addressing what is happening? Even just asking those questions will help us get a little bit further, I think, than where we have been, at least in the last year that I've been asking for this information. So, and I'm not saying that it's on our chief, it's on our police department. I'm not pointing any fingers. What I'm saying is, this is an issue that feels like it has increased in our community. And so now at this point in time, what are we doing to address it, given the resources that we have, whether it's personnel or other funding sources, so that we can bolster what we have and address and nip it in the bud. So But thank you for that, Captain Hufford. And I think that, it does provide some history. History is important. But it also, it doesn't address my questions of where are we now? What do we need? What are we doing to fill those gaps and to understand what is happening and address that? And that's what we need to start focusing on if we can as a council. So thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may ask that any further discussion on this that may very well lead to personnel related matters of recruitment and other things that we take it up in closed session. That's my request.
Yes, I agree. I only whatever Hofford was willing to let us know. I think it's, but I do think it's important that people are aware of the major investments that we are making, the effort that on the front that we have to tackle on, right? It goes beyond 1 year. It's a whole progress. So, I think Chief will be with us shortly, hopefully. I do have a request for him on the agenda. So we'll continue the conversation at a later time.
Mayor, I think Mr. Damien had something to say also.
Yeah, on my end, I'm going to save most of my comments for closed session only because I don't want to release some of the information. I just want to make it known that public safety is a top priority, and I believe it is for all of us on the council. Going back to why things are happening, it's, there's a lot of things that play into that, and I'll save all of that for closed session, but I just want the audience to know that we do take public safety as a major concern, and we are going to do what we have to do to address these issues.
Mayor, may I?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Avila.
I just want to add, yes, public safety is our priority. I have also had many conversations with the chief, and as you and as Mayor Pro Tem have mentioned, is something that we need to bring up in closed sessions. And just for the record, you never said that we were not going to discuss this in closed session. You said we were going to come back because we only had 15 minutes. So I didn't see it as you denying us speaking of the situation. You said that we needed to come back after a regular scheduled meeting so we can finish or at least start our discussion to see what is going to be done or what is in the plan. That is all, Mayor. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So,
Mr. Mayor, one more last one, and we'll move on if that's okay.
yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Again, as Mayor Pro Tem just mentioned, I think obviously public safety is a priority for all of us. It holds a deep special part for myself, coming from a public safety background and working with some of the largest departments. I've been working with and speaking directly with the chief and some of his command staff over the years, trying to resolve and butter up some of the the gaps that we've had over historically. That's the reason for why we've invested like the $1.2 million body cams and other items over the years. I haven't necessarily defunded the police department, but when a department is certainly running a overtime deficit of over $1.2 million, there's questions that need to be asked, and so we did, and that's why we're continuing to move forward with the various different deployments models. Especially when it comes to when we're talking about these task force. What that also means, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Captain Hofford, that individual that we lend out, because I'm well aware of what task force do, especially on the regional and state and federal levels, is that individual that we do, lend out, they're not necessarily working in our city. They're working in other jurisdictions and other regions, working on a much larger issues, more regional issues that are going on. Now, if that happens to be in our backyard, then of course that task force is being focused here in our city. And as the captain mentioned, there are times in which we could leverage those relationships and those resources to be brought back into our city. That's not something that happens, on a daily basis. I think some of the questions that we all have been talking about, at least of myself, is, as we've been trying to provide some of the resources for our chief, is exactly as we've talked about time after time, is, our stats, right? It begins as simple as what's our crime stats. And this is not something that we want to do in closed session. We want to do this in public. And that's why we've been working with the chief to provide him his necessary resources to provide that information to all of us. And I know he's doing a great deal of effort to work on not only that particular item, but all the other items that we put forth in front of the chief and his command staff. And it's one of those areas in which over time will be resolved, but I think it's more about as Councilmember Garcia mentioned, what she feels. The same with myself is I feel the graffiti's been going up, and I've been sharing this with staff for quite some time. And it's just might look at us perhaps having someone on a Sunday, right, to help remove graffiti and so forth, right, because that's one of those first indicators that are out in the community. But again, this is something that we can certainly discuss in more detail, and I do appreciate this opportunity, Mr. Mayor, before we move on through the agenda. Thank you.
That's great, thank you. So moving on to consent calendar. Is there any items anybody's looking to pull? I'd like to pull item number 4, 5, and 6, and 8. I think I pulled them all, huh? Great, so I'll make a motion to pass consent calendar items number 1 through 9, not including 4, 5, 6, and 8. Can I get a second?
Second.
Great, City Clerk, roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Estrada,
Yes.
Councilmember Avila,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Damian,
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great, thank you for that, City Clerk. So we move on to item number 4, and I'm glad this is one of the first items, a very exciting item. I know, Mayor Pro Tem Damian and I had been talking about the potential of a family service center at the old Olson spot. We had potentially considered an RFP. Staff felt that people wouldn't be interested since we had just killed an ENA. And we got creative and we decided that this could be a great way to expand space for the community while developing the downtown. I know Ben and some of our other staff have been working on the idea with some groups, and then we had a great idea. So we do have some special guests on today. So Ben, if you want to take it away.
Yes, I'd be happy to start the conversation. Thank you, Mayor and City Council. And then I'll pass probably the baton to our Parks and Recs Director next. But the Family Resource Center is a public-private venture that it could be a public-private venture, it could be a public-public venture. That is very exciting. The idea is to relocate the existing Terry Muse Family Resource Center to the parking lot area located behind, adjacent to Morgan Park, where again, we were considering formerly as a housing site. And then redevelop the existing site where the Cherry Muse Family Resource Center is located currently into affordable housing. That's exciting because one of the ideas could be potentially to create additional senior housing at that site and relocate and bolster our efforts of the current senior housing being offered at the McKinley Senior Center, senior housing next door. So this project in the long run could provide some very exciting additional housing, affordable housing for seniors. The staff report goes into a lot of detail and about the potential ideas. Most of these are related again to Parks and Rec, so perhaps Manny is best to address those. But I will say this, I've worked on such projects as this in the past in other communities. I think we have an excellent team. I think we have some excellent partners. I think we have some very exciting funding sources to consider this, again, both public and private potentially. I think the site could be used for a myriad of services to benefit the community, both from a recreational standpoint, from a family resource standpoint, and potentially we've had initial conversations with Habitat for Humanity to provide the types of services related to affordable housing and their resale store that they provide currently in other communities. And so I think that this idea is exciting. I think I wanted to note that although we're discussing this tonight, we need to do a little bit more homework from a legal standpoint regarding the disposition of the city-owned property and declaring it as surplus and working with it towards this effort. So that's something that we just need a little bit more time, and our city attorney has began reviewing that effort and addressing that legislation, but he'll need a little bit more time to finalize that work. But I think the goal tonight is to get general direction from the city council to move forward with this effort and explore. I think we can with very minimal expenditure, we can start to formalize the type of scope of work of the project, what could possibly fit on the site, what it generally might look like, how it generally might operate, and come back with more discussion. Right now, we don't have any of those details, but we are excited about the opportunity for the proposed development.
Great, thank you. And so, Manny, did you want to make any comments?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor, council members. I'd like to mention the current facility at the Family Service Center is approximately 5,150 square feet. So we are hoping to at least double that size with a new family service center. So it would be approximately 11,000 to 12,000 square feet. So if you could visualize our current family service center and maybe something a little bit more comparable to the teen center, there seems to be a big need in the community for the city to leverage our resources with nonprofit agencies. And the way we do that is that we provide facilities free of charge. We collaborate in a wide array of programs and services. So we are looking to receive some direction from the city council tonight. I also have Sam Gutierrez, our Director of Public Works, on the line. So Ben is focusing a little bit more on the planning and community development. Sam will focus on the construction element and design, and I will assist with the public input, engagement, and best practices in terms of the facility.
Great, thank you. And then Sam, did you have any comments?
Not many. I just want to echo what Ben and Manny have said so far, but we're ready to, depending on the direction we get from council tonight, we are ready to move into a conceptual design and study for the development of the project. And we're also very excited and glad to help.
Great, thank you. And so I think the Family Service Center is kind of an idea that's been evolving little by little. It's the downtown. We don't have a lot of things. As a father of small children, it comes to mind that there's not a lot to do here, and that we need to increase our services and resources as well. So we've talked about creating a nonprofit hub where we can have all of our service providers have their own space. Currently, in the current Family Service Center, I think they're all sharing one or two offices. Isn't that right, Manny?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so they have to alternate between hours. They don't have it to themselves. I think it limits them, and it also, might cause some discomfort having to share a desk with 10 organizations, and and a multitude of people. Thinking beyond that, we've had a great partnership with Habitat. They are our Choto partner. I recently was made aware that they are, that their leases might be up in a couple of years, putting us in a position to partner with them and hopefully have, all, if not a big portion, if not all of Habitat's operations here in the city, including the Restore. And I thought that was a great idea because I recall when Bob's Furniture came into the city, it was because I think you guys had done a leakage study and you saw that a lot of people were leaving the city to buy furniture. Something like this would be a multi-story effort project with multiple levels, increasing our ability to use that space for park space, recreational space, services, nonprofits. And I think it would be a very good development because it would be a development that would be for the community, a development that the community can use, can enjoy, and can get a service out of it. So I did invite the Habitat team to join us today for the council meeting. So Brian and Grant, I don't know if you have any comments you want to make or jump on.
This is Grant speaking. Brian, are you here? Okay. Well, let me then.
I'm sorry. It took me a while to figure out how to get to the mic, but I am here.
Okay, take it away, Brian.
Sure. Thank you so much for inviting us. We've truly enjoyed the partnerships of the various housing projects that we've been able to do with the city to help the residents in a variety of ways. When this idea was floated out to us, although we are a housing provider for affordable home ownership, the bottom line is we're a nonprofit. And our goal is to partner with other nonprofits in any way possible to make the community stronger. So, this is an idea that is very intriguing to us on how we can help the city, help the other nonprofits, and at the same time help ourselves in the sense that it's kind of funny. Our whole core business is home ownership, yet we lease our headquarters. So it's my goal eventually to own our own facilities, and so we're excited to have conversations with you on what we can do to help you reach your goals.
Great, thank you. And I thought it was a really good idea. I think, Habitat has been nothing but good to the city of Baldwin Park. You are our Choto partner, so we already work with you in the Housing Authority, and we've been doing some great big things here for affordable home ownership. Mayor Pro Tem, I don't know if you have any comments. It looked like you were about to speak.
Yeah, I do. Thank you. I just, I would love to see this project be expedited. I would love to see the new Family Service Center be built already for our community, but I also would like to see, or actually request, if we can have staff and the city attorney do more due diligence on the option of how the partnership with Habitat for Humanity is going to be structured. So that's one of the requests that I would have, is just do more due diligence to see how we're going to be able to, if we're going to be able to structure this this deal before we move forward with anything.
Great.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Avila.
Yes, thank you. I think that's a wonderful project. That area definitely needs a lot of improvement, and we need more square footage where we can provide more services for our community. When they do the scope of work, they're going to bring everything back for ideas for council, and so we can have input on that.
Yes, yes. We, working with Sam and Ben, we would consult with an architectural firm and come up with some very preliminary architectural renderings or conceptuals, and then we would return those to City Council, and at some point we would incorporate the community. Just thinking out loud, in 6 months down the road, maybe we could incorporate those renderings to the public at the concerts or at the Hope Fest event where we were discussing earlier. But Sam, if you want to elaborate a little bit more, or did I cover most of the elements?
Manny, let me say that, with the expeditious approach that we're going to be taking this up, the first thing we're going to do is what Councilmember Damian alluded to, which is let's structure this at the deal level before we get into the design, which can obviously conceptually things can happen at the design level without, especially things that that Habitat can do on their side, without us, the city, expending money up front in that regard. But we're going to focus on structuring the deal so that it makes sense for both parties, and bring that back to City Council quickly. That's certainly first order of business, I think.
And that's sorry, that's a good idea. But once you do start those plans, I would really like to see it tie into our restaurants and blend into our, like our hamburger, Star Burger, Taconazo, all those areas there, so they can have the opportunity maybe to provide a facility for another little restaurant adjacent to our Family Service Center, where not just the employees, but the community and people that are coming in for services can sit down and enjoy the view of our beautiful park. So we can incorporate all that into the design once we get all that in place of, I really would like to see everything connected into our downtown as discussed in the past.
Yeah, and I think it's a great, to me, the way I see it is, we're developing the front of City Hall, which I think is necessary. It's due time, but it lends itself, right? Because we're developing El Zócalo. El Zócalo gets connected to Ramona through Papel Picado, the public art marquee, and then that connects itself to the potential new Family Service Center. So we have synergy going in the downtown, and I think it's great. I think our community has really been wanting something nice in the downtown. Doing something like this is going to be, I think, really nice development, and something that it's not very common. And we'd be bringing in Habitat, their headquarters or operations, and I think that's big for the city as well, as we show everybody that we are focused on affordable housing and fighting that housing issue.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember Hernandez.
Thank you. As we look at this conceptually, after the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, can we also look at, as we're exploring, various things, perhaps we can look at, how this venue can be used during the evenings, right? Whether it's a, container or a version of a container looking, micro, coffee shop that's created, maybe run through our students or some sort of micro enterprise, and others to kind of, be able to rotate folks to, help them start a business, run a little business that's serving our communities, and then move them on to hopefully one of the larger spaces that we have here. So if we could look at that also, and then, as we talk about those opportunities, there's a way of tying it in with the adult school. They have a culinary class there. So different ways of not only providing and covering the cost, but also providing the opportunities for people to uplift themselves and move forward. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great idea. A communal kitchen, I think, is kind of what you're talking about, right? A little bit more long-term. I think that's, all
that stuff. We'll look at all that.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, and we had, one of the things I brought up was if it's a multi-layered building, instead of a top story, we can have an outdoor gathering place that increases our gathering space, a nice view of the city. It'd be for use for the concerts at the park. I think it would add, and then every Habitat has their key handover ceremony, and I think that would be a great place to have it. So, yeah. So I think I don't know if any other council members have any questions, comments, concerns before we move forward.
Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you. I just want to say that, this is a wonderful project, and I'm so glad that we're embarking on this. It's been a little hub for providing social services, but this expansion is so needed, and it's time, to modernize the facilities, but also to revisit some of the services that are being offered there, and to kind of just recreate the space. So I just wanted to express that I'm excited about it, and it should be fun. Should be fun creating this space.
Mr. Mayor, one last thing too, if I may. Sorry.
Yes.
And we can just discuss at a later time, perhaps setting an example of making sure that the folks that we bring on are either union or union labor and so forth. Primarily, bringing on folks in and around our city, and then our neighboring cities. We did a PLA on a smaller for us, for the work that the previous council that Councilmember Garcia I know led, and also with our clerk, Ms. Garcia, the other Garcia. Worked on the PLA. So if there's a way of looking at that and providing, jobs for our local residents, but also more importantly, the apprentice that work with the various trades. So if we could just explore that, I think that would provide additional value for our residents that are union members and or wish to be a full-time fledged member in whatever trade that they're looking at.
Great. And I think that's a good idea. So I think we've given the clear direction. Enrique, you have it jotted down, right? And then all staff is aware. And then what was the amount that you guys had asked for?
The amount that we had requested was $90,000, I believe, at this point. Although I don't think we are going to exhaust any funds at this point, because I think we need to look at the project a little bit closer. I think Ben will probably do that with Enrique in terms of how it's going to pencil out.
Yeah. So I think I think it's better since the conversation is it's not promised, but we'd rather just authorize the funds now so that they are set aside. I know we're trying to keep a count on our fund 275. I think that's our ARPA fund, and then with the given direction, and then that would be my motion. I think Councilmember Hernandez seconded it, but he was on mute. There you go. So, City Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Estrada?
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Daniel Damian?
Yes.
Councilmember Alejandra Avila?
Yes.
Councilmember Monica? Yeah.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. Thank you for that, City Clerk. And thank you to the Habitat team for being here with us today. I know it's a little bit of a long hour, but thank you. We're very excited for this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night, guys.
Thank you. So item number 5, approval to accept the grant award from the San Gabriel Council of Governments for the program 4. It's an amount of $50,000. Manny, did you want to touch base on it?
Yes, I'd just like to share with the council that we originally applied for a $125,000 grant, but the COG, and that was going to be for 1 year, but the COG allocated $50,000. So we are looking at providing safe parking for 6 months approximately. And we are proposing to utilize the Garvey site, which is adjacent to the Public Works yard. And we feel it would be a very good use of space for an interim safe parking or pilot safe parking program, because it's going to probably take 6 to 12 months to configure the structure to accommodate the 50-bed grant that we had applied for. So we are just, I am just circling back with the city council just to make sure that versus a 12-month project, we're looking at a 6-month project, anywhere from 5 to 10 vehicles funded through the COG. So there is no fiscal impact at this time. If there is a fiscal impact, then we will return to a subsequent city council meeting and ask for additional funds. But staff feels relatively comfortable that we should be able to administer the program for 6 months with the allocated amount.
Great. And I think
Thank you.
Thank you, Manny. I think that's a good use. I mean, we don't want that property to sit vacant, so I think it makes sense interimly, temporarily while we construct the other stuff. However, I do think that 12 months is a very long time to figure out what we're going to do at the Garvey site. We do have the money. We have 1.2. Is that correct? Just solely for construction.
I believe it's 1.125, and Ben has that specific number. And the months that I threw out, 6 to 12 months, are very rough. Ben probably has a better handle on that aspect since he's heading up that project.
Yeah. So I would like to see us start working on the development of the half portion in the back, which is the empty gated area with the garage. If we're going to put tiny homes, I think, Sam, you're able to plan out the tiny homes and the kind of the spacing there.
Yes, Mayor, absolutely. We can start similar to what we did with the tiny homes project. A lot of lessons learned there. We can put together a site plan, start figuring out how a lot of the tiny homes can be accommodated, how many. I know we got to meet about 50 beds, but we could get started on that. There was a lot of lessons learned in the first program, so I think the earlier we get started, the better.
Yeah, I think that'll be great as well. I know, especially because we're focusing on families here, and we still have time before the new school year starts, but we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to keep families together and safe, especially during the pandemic, right? So I do want to also work on that simultaneously. And then I'm thinking that eventually we can look at the buildings at a later date, because I think that's what's going to slow us down. Depending on how we end up using most of the space in the back, we could end up doing something different with those. I know, we just talked about this earlier. Homelessness is a wide variety of issues, right? It's not just the homeless, it's homeless students, homeless foster kids, homeless LGBTQIA, homeless seniors, homeless women, couples, and things like that. So we might be able to accommodate some extra stuff in those homes, depending on who we get to operate that. Of course, as long as that is a fit for the families in the back. So I think we want to move on that, especially because we have the money. So there's no need to keep waiting on that. And then, and I think that is a great use. So I will make a motion to pass item number 5 with the added on directions. Can I get a second?
Second.
City Clerk, roll call, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Estrada?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Damian?
Yes.
Councilmember Alejandra Avila?
Yes.
Councilmember Monica Garcia?
Yes.
Councilmember Paul Hernandez?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great, thank you for that, City Clerk, and I believe we are all set there. And then we are at item number 6, and then we have Rose Tam. So Rose, I think you are getting, for the first time ever, it appears you're getting some budgeting software.
Yes, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and City Council.
So it sounds like you're not going to use Excel anymore, right?
Yes, I'm very excited about that. And my staff are very excited about that too.
Yeah, so we're very excited. I think it's necessary. I know you're dealing with a lot of numbers and a lot of money. So I just wanted to see, I know there was that, I wasn't able to fully pay attention to all the slides that you sent me, but I wanted to make sure, is there so will this program also make it a little bit easier to share, financial information with the community to make sure that they are also, have easy access to the budget? I know that we have a page on the website, and I think sometimes we put up some graphs, so I just want to double check with you.
Yes, that's one of the main goal, and this budget software will provide transparency and real-time information instead of now that we're doing manually. Just for example, we enter one employee's labor allocation, we have to enter about 10 line items one by one into the Excel system. Once we finish thousands of entries, and we still have to import and enter the data into our accounting system. And with this system, will save lots and lots of steps time and save overtime money also.
Great. Yeah,
and we also have a representative from OpenGov, Andrew here, in case you need to ask further questions.
Great. Okay. So I see Andrew on here. I think he just unmuted himself. Can you hear me, Andrew?
Hey, yes, I can. Good evening, Mayor Estrada.
Great. How are you doing?
Doing well, doing well.
Good, good. Well, thank you for being with us today. I do want to lend the option to our council members to ask you any questions if they have any.
Great. Yeah, and to answer your first one, yes. So part of this platform is the ability to share information and put it up on a transparency portal. So really any information the city wishes to share and put out publicly. And then also the creation of a digital budget book, which we see being really helpful in making the budget more accessible for folks who might not understand government finance super well.
Great. I think that's really important. So glad for that. Councilmember Hernandez, did you have a question or comment?
Thank you, Andrew. Just out of curiosity, would there be is there an option in which the public is able to slice and dice, what a budget would look like, under their perspective? And then the second part is, would they be able to submit, what they believe, what their priorities, at least under the budgeting process, like the city of Los Angeles and other large cities, ask for public input during the budget process. I'm not sure if you're familiar with kind of the stuff that they use online over at the city, but also some of the portals.
Yeah, great questions. So yeah, I'll answer them in order. So yeah, the first one, yes. So you will be able to slice and dice budgets, kind of go down into detail if you'd like. As far as the public engagement and the ability to do like a survey or almost like create your own budget, I'm not familiar with what the city of Los Angeles is doing, but we do have a solution for that as well. So you do have the option to do just what you said. And we actually see it being pretty common during the budget process. If you want to engage and say, for example, hey, if you had $1,000 of public funds to spend, where would you put it across these 10 different initiatives or these 10 priorities or departments? Right. That is available within the system.
Perfect. And that's something that we're getting with the current contract that we have now.
That's right.
Excellent. Rose, I look forward, and Enrique, I look forward to using that as we go through that process. And Enrique, I know you're well aware of what I'm referring to, because I know you've gone through this a couple times, maybe once or twice in your tenure. But thank you. No further questions.
And Mayor, I just want to say that I'm glad that we're moving up to the new era, because the old way of doing this budgeting was driving me crazy. So I'm glad that we found this vendor.
Yes, me too. I struggle with Excel, so I can only imagine, finance doing everything on Excel. I salute them. I think they should be maybe in coding as well, right? So thank you. Thank you, Andrew, for being and answering our questions. And Rose, thank you for taking the lead on this and getting this done promptly.
Thank you. Thank you for all your support. Yeah. I'm very excited. And later on with your fingerprint, click, and you can see up-to-date real-time information and budget information and actual versus budget and all those wonderful data.
Great, thank you. So at this moment, I'll make a motion to pass item number 6. Can I get a second?
Second.
City Clerk, roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Estrada?
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Yes.
Councilmember Alejandra Avila,
Yes.
Councilmember Monica Garcia,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Daniel Damian,
Yes.
motion passes.
Hey, thank you. And so I think I pulled item number 8. So we have the 8. Sam, you want to take the lead on this?
Absolutely, Mayor. Thank you. Yeah, so this item is requesting approval for design services funding for the 3rd floor and council chambers remodeling or improvements project. This project was derived from a list of several projects that were presented to the council back in August, and then in September they were collectively joined into one project and added to the capital improvement program. So we are looking into designing the phase for the project, which is going to include major construction work, especially some structural and not structural, but interior design, decor upgrades, redesign of the entryway at the lobby in the 3rd floor, new conference rooms, new office furniture, repainting, new flooring, and improvements to restroom. I do have John Bechet and Kevin O'Brien, part of the selected architectural firm. So in October, we sent out an RFP, and then we set up a committee of staff as the selection committee. And they have reviewed 6 proposals that were sent in. There was some interviews held, and now we're making the recommendation to go with La Cañada Design Group.
Great, thank you. And I think I saw La Cañada here, right? Kevin O'Brien is here.
Kevin O'Brien is here and available if you have any questions for him.
Great. I think no questions. I think it makes sense. You know, they are the designers of Zócalo. I think that makes it so that the design of gets incorporated into that, and we have a theme going. And I think that's great. The only thing I do want to see is in the chambers, I think it would be nice if one of the walls commemorates elected officials. I think it'd be really nice. I know other cities have wall of mayors, and that's because they rotate, so everybody becomes a mayor. Here, we just talked about Betty Lowe's. She was the first elected woman mayor, but we've also had Adelina Gregory, who was the first woman mayor ever, and back in I think like the 70s. And at one point, she was one of 3 women on a council in the San Gabriel Valley. We also have, I believe, Ana Montenegro, who's one of the longest serving Latina treasurers. So, as you can tell, I've been reading a lot about our city history. And I think that, we have a very, very diverse and rich history when it comes to our electeds. And I think, the community should be aware of our history. I think the city's still fairly young, where we can capture a lot of this information and bring it out for people to see it. And I think it'd be neat, keep a good track of our history and some of the things that our city has really led on.
Absolutely. Part of the process will be, addressing questions like that on what we're doing in the council chamber. And we did program several council meetings as we're developing the project to have city council provide feedback.
Great. Yeah, I did see that. I scrolled through the thing. I just wanted to make sure I threw it out there. Yeah, great. Okay. So if there's any questions or comments for La Cañada from council or staff? If not, well, thank you, Kevin, for being here. If you'd like to say hello, at least.
Sure. Thanks very much. It's a pleasure to be here tonight.
Great. Thank you. So at this moment, I will make a motion to pass item number 8. Can I get a second?
Okay.
City Clerk, roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Estrada,
Yes.
Councilmember Alejandra Avila,
Yes.
Councilmember Monica Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Paul Hernandez,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Daniel Damian.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you for that, City Clerk. At this moment, I'll move to a City Council acting as a successor agency for the dissolved Community Development Commission. We we have a consent calendar. I will make a motion to pass that consent calendar. Can I get a second?
Mayor, I believe you pulled item number 9.
No, I think I said, let's see. 2, so I said 4, 5, 6, and 8. So 9 should be okay.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you. And then, so I did, there was a motion on the floor. Can I get a second?
Second.
City Clerk, roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Estrada,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Daniel Damian,
Yes.
Councilmember Alejandra Avila,
Yes.
Councilmember Monica Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Paul Hernandez.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great, thank you. I know we have the designation of, or primary and alternate representative for the San Gabriel Valley Mosquito and Vector Control District. I think I had asked staff to see if anybody in our staff would be interested or able to do it, just because I know like Public Works deals with a lot of these issues. It would make sense for one of our staff members. So just want to double check.
I would be interested, Mayor, but it really should go to a member of the community. No, I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding.
Well, I think it has to be a resident. So it would be nice having Enrique at some of these meetings. If not, I think the Vector meeting isn't too far away. So I thought it would be a good idea to have somebody from staff. If staff's not able to, I think I had signed up for it when we first did it, but it's any resident can be in it. So we had a former mayor there until recently. So if it is okay with everybody, I can make it. So I'll do the Vector.
I'll second your motion.
I haven't made a motion, Mayor Pro Tem. I don't want a motion to.
I'll second your.
I don't want a motion to assign myself. That's really weird.
I nominate you, Mayor Estrada.
I nominate you as well.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Can I get a second?
Second.
Sorry. First and second. City Clerk, roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Estrada,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Daniel Damian,
Yes.
Councilmember Alejandra Avila,
Yes.
Councilmember Monica Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Paul Hernandez.
Yep.
Motion passes.
Great. Thank you. So now we move on to our.
Mayor, I'm sorry, Mayor, you would need an alternate as well.
Oh, we need an alternate. Okay, so we have our primary. Do we need an alternate? Is anybody on the council looking to be an alternate?
What day is this
I don't have the.
and time?
Oh, let's see. I don't have the. It doesn't have it on my report. Does it have it on the staff report, Lulu?
Yeah, but I'm sorry, I'm getting disconnected. Give me 1 minute.
Okay, no worries. Let's see if I can find it.
Because they're on Fridays, right?
I want to say they might be. Let me double check. I don't want to give you the wrong info.
No,
I think
no,
they're at
appreciate that.
7:30 in the morning.
Oh,
What days?
I'm not sure about the day. I know the time is like at 7:30 in the morning.
yeah, 7:30 in the morning. Let's see. I'm bringing up the staff report.
All right, no problem.
They're at 7 a.m. It's on the staff report, 7 a.m. And the second Friday of each month is when the meetings are.
Got it.
I'm open to being an alternative if you can't make it. That's fine. Unless there's somebody else that really wants to wake up at 7.
I nominate Mr. Hernandez.
I'll second that. So City Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Avila,
Yes.
Mayor Estrada,
Yes.
Councilmember Monica Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Paul Hernandez,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Daniel Damian.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Great. Thank you for that. Okay, so we are at item number 11. It was consideration of ordinance of the City of Baldwin Park to establish campaign contribution limits and penalties in Baldwin Park. I know Councilmember Damian, this was an effort that you spearheaded, so I do want to give you the floor before I make any comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I actually had several conversations with our city attorney, Robert Tafoya. He worked diligently with Sean McNorris from the organization that helped him put this ordinance in place. We did float out some numbers. For me, it was something where I felt that anywhere from $500 to $750 was doable as far as the campaign contribution limit. We have it on here at $750, open for discussion. We also covered the contributions from personal funds. I believe that at one point in time, the maximum was $100,000 that you were able to use out of your own personal funds. In this particular case, we did float the idea of 25,000. So we came up with a number of 35,000, which is also open for discussion. My only question to the city attorney, Robert, is I see that we have the contribution by developers and vendors. Does this also include independent contractors contracted with the city? An example, yourself, you're contracted. Can we add that on here as well? Is Robert Tafoya on?
Yeah, he's on mute. He might be having some trouble.
Robert, you on? So since we're, let's go ahead and open it up for discussion. If anybody has any questions, while Robert Tafoya comes on to answer questions.
I have a few, but I think Robert's is the one who's going to answer them. One of the things I'd like to add for discussion and for clarification is in regards to the 35,000. I just want to make sure that we're that's actually even eligible to do, because right now the maximum contributions that someone can do in the state of California for us at our local level is 4,900. So that's where I did ask Robert to look into that to see if that was if that's something that we could actually do, because there's two separate things. The other thing I'd like to also raise is registering PACs and independent expenditures with the city and with our clerk. So that way, again, as we're moving towards full transparency, we understand who are the folks that are, trying to support, certain candidates, whatever the case may be. So I think that would certainly benefit all of us, in regards to PACs and independent expenditures, should be filed with the city and registered with the city, first and foremost, with our clerk, and then held to the same. Ideally, I'd love to put campaign caps on that, but I don't know if we're eligible or we can. The other thing too is the way it currently reads is it reads as if any elected official in the city of Baldwin Park would fall under these purviews. I believe that's not the intent. I believe it's just for the city council and the elected positions in the city council within the city of Baldwin Park, again, such as the clerk, treasurer, mayor, and council. So I would just ask that we clarify the ordinance so it reads specific to those positions, because again, under the current, the way it reads as if whether you're a school board member or if you're a water board director, that this would fall under that purview, and I don't believe that is the case. And separately, those are two different entities. So if we could just make sure we could address those items, I would appreciate that.
Robert, I don't know if you were able to get the majority of the questions that Councilmember Hernandez had.
Yes.
You want to go ahead and answer those before I ask a few?
So yes, I do believe that the intent was to limit the ordinance to city council, clerk, and mayor. And I would like to have the opportunity to clarify that language. The independent expenditures, you cannot limit the independent expenditures, at least that was my take on it, and also the take of Sean McMorris. As you know, Sean gave a presentation before the city council when we were talking about this initially with California Common Cause, I believe it is. And I did go over a lot of the terms that are in this ordinance with him. And one of the things we specifically spoke about was the independent expenditures. So he does not believe that would withhold a constitutional challenge if we were to limit the independent expenditures. But we can add terms into this ordinance that would require PACs and other organizations that are going to engage in independent expenditures in either a city council, city clerk, or mayor's race to identify themselves and that sort of thing and register with the city. So we could add those kinds of terms. And yes, the state limit right now is 4,900 limit contribution.
So with that limit, Robert, that just means that an individual or a candidate could only loan themselves or give themselves, either which way, a maximum of 4,900 right now. Is that correct?
They can only, no, that, I guess that's not correct. I don't think so. I did speak with this with Sean, and in terms of if you wanted to just give yourself money, there is a Supreme Court case on that I spoke specifically with Sean about that you can give yourself any amount of money that you want. You can't loan yourself that amount of money, but you can, like if you just wanted to put $50,000 into your campaign of your own money that is not a loan and it's not going to be paid back out of campaign funds, you could do that.
Okay. And what's the maximum that you can loan yourself right now under state law?
The maximum amount that you can loan yourself, as I understand it, is $4,900.
Got it. Okay. So anyone can, just for clarification, anyone can, under this current ordinance that we have, is we can, a candidate could give themselves up to $35,000. And that's just per election cycle, correct?
Well, no, according to the Supreme Court case, you can give yourself any amount of money. You cannot limit that amount of money.
Okay.
You can give yourself any amount of money.
Understood. And okay, so, and then the other part, sorry, my screen's about to die, was about to die. And the other part, just for clarification, was in regards to loaning yourself, right now, the maximum allowance is $4,900. Is that correct?
That is my understanding, yes.
Okay. I would just ask if we can just, circle, just to double check to make sure that that is the case. I'm fine with that limit if that is the case. But I would just be mindful of that. Because again, when it comes to clarifications, right? Because it all matters in rules, is someone can loan themselves $4,900 and give themselves $15,000 or even, $35,000. And that would be acceptable under the clause that we have. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Perfect.
And there, like I said, there are some things here that we put this together quickly, and I had no problem doing that, but with the understanding that if we're going to add in the stuff about the independent expenditures and the other kinds of things, I would like to have an opportunity to, include that in and then bring it back to your next meeting.
I'm okay with that, Robert, because I'd rather have it done the right way, the second round, instead of shoving something down without having you the time to look at these things. I'm okay with $750 or even $1,000 on a max, and with all the other individuals that are prohibited and so forth, as listed in the ordinance. Thank you.
So the modifications that we can make, Robert, are what Councilmember Hernandez suggested, which is registering all PACs, independent expenditures with the city. The maximum that we can loan ourselves would be $4,900 per election cycle. And then $750 maximum campaign contribution from any donor per election cycle, and give yourself up to $35,000 per election cycle, correct?
No, so under the Supreme Court case, you can give yourself any amount of money. We cannot limit the amount that somebody can give themselves. So that has to be unlimited. It has to be unlimited.
So then we would be changing, the 35,000 in the personal funds to an unlimited amount.
Yes, I think we're going to be changing the loan amount that's in here. I believe I have in here that you can give yourself an unlimited amount. I believe that is in here. So we would be adding add a section regarding the PACs and the independent expenditures and the registration and so forth. We'd be changing the loan amount, and we would be adding language in to show that this only applies to city clerk, city council, and mayor elections in Baldwin Park, as opposed to any election in the city that would include, water boards and all that sort of thing. That it would not include that. This is just going to be for city council, city clerk, and the mayor.
Okay, and then one more thing that I had was the question that I had for you was, we have campaign contributions by developers and vendors that are not allowed. Does this include also independent contractors that are doing business with the city? An example, yourself. Anybody that's contracted with the city, and we also include that in this ordinance?
Well, I believe I would be a vendor. I mean, I've got a contract with the city.
Got it. Okay, so you would be considered a vendor.
Yeah, and so that's anybody with a contract before the city, right? And I'm in that category for sure.
Perfect. Okay. I'm good with the modifications.
So I have,
Vice Mayor, if you like, in order for it to be more clear, I could add that language, independent contractor, as well, just so that there's no ambiguity about that.
Mayor?
Yeah, let's just add it in there, just that way there's no confusions or I didn't know type of deal.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Councilmember Avila.
Yes, does the cannabis, does that fall under developer? What do they fall under?
Well, they would call under vendor, Councilmember Avila. The definition under vendor under F is vendor means any person or entity that has an existing contract, agreement, or other arrangement to provide the city with goods, services, or other items, who has an interest or expectation of obtaining such a contractual arrangement. So I'm going to clarify that, of course, to make sure that that includes independent contractor, but anybody with a contract before the city, which would include our cannabis vendors as well.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, that was one of my questions as well. I do have a couple of things as well. So I know that, so I've been looking at all these, I paid a little bit extra attention to Alhambra one. So I think Cathedral City has the severability portion where it says, if any section, subsection, subdivision, sentence, clause, phrase, or portion of this resolution or the application thereof 20% is for any reason held to be invalid or unconstitutional by the decision of any court of competent jurisdiction, such decision shall not affect the validity of the remainder of the resolution. So do we have that in ours?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that's section 4011, severability. If any section, subsection, subdivision, paragraph, sentence, clause, or phrase of the ordinance or any part thereof is for any reason held to be invalid or unconstitutional, so forth. Yes.
Great. And then I saw the definitions of, so our definition is a little bit different. It says, where is it at? Developer means any person or entity who is currently seeking or who has an interest in or expectation of seeking from the city's specific plan, zone change, development agreement, density bonus, subdivision, tract map. And then the term shall include any agent or representative of the developer, and where the developer is a business entity shall include all owners, shareholders, principals, partners, members, officers, directors, and managers. I think, sorry, let me find, I think Alhambra had a little bit more of a stricter definition of developer. So, because I think this one is more if there's an interest, right? And so if somebody donates, we don't know if there's an interest or not, and then they come in after that, should it be so I think Alhambra just in general said no developer money.
Okay, I'll take another look at Alhambra, and I will modify our developer definition as well.
Yeah, so it should be any person or entity who is currently seeking or who has an interest in or expectation of seeking. So expectation of seeking, how can you define that?
My understanding of that was somebody that has submitted something but is not yet been processed through the city.
So if a developer hasn't put anything into the city, they can contribute after elections, then turn something into the city.
So yes, so if a developer has nothing before the city, they have no project, no application, not anything even in process, then they could donate. If they're a developer with no project, no application, no expectation of getting anything from the city.
So I think we don't want any loopholes in this, and then somebody gets one before somebody else. Alhambra completely said no developer money. I would be more comfortable with that, so that there's no position there.
Question on that one.
Just for clarification, what does no developer money mean?
Let's see, I can give you the definition.
Question, while you're looking for that definition.
Yes, go ahead.
So if a developer, let's say a developer that doesn't have any business in our city donates to our city or to a campaign, sorry, and this person wins the election, which I want to clarify, that includes city clerk and city treasurer, anybody running for office, correct?
Yes, yes.
So a developer contributes to one of the offices and the person wins the election, and 8 months down the line, they apply to be a contractor here in our city. Is that going to ban them automatically because they've already contributed to somebody here in our city? Is it going to ban them from applying to get a contract here?
No, I don't think we could do that. In other words, we couldn't say that you can't apply in our city. I will check with Sean McMorris and California Common Cause on that. But I don't, my understanding was there are some constitutional limits, and the reason why we're able to bar developers and vendors and things like that is because we're adding this clause that where they have business before the city. And that allows it, because there are some, free speech rights that people have to donate. And I asked him about that. I said, I know that there's, free speech rights that's concerned, donations. If we do this, would it withstand constitutional challenge? And he said, yes, because we're not just banning them altogether. We're not just saying nobody can ever do this ever. We're saying that they can't do this during specific times, like when you have business before the city, or when you have a contract before the city, or so on and so forth. So I think the mayor is suggesting that we ban any developer, whether they have business before the city or not. And I'm going to have to run that by Sean in California Common Cause, just to make sure my understanding is correct, because he was very, very helpful. He's an expert at this. He's done a lot of these ordinances in other cities. And so I would want to have an opportunity to run that by him before including it in the ordinance. If it's just an outright ban, like no matter what, nobody, no developer can make a donation. But I will do that. And if it is something that that he thinks is constitutionally meritorious, I will do it.
Yeah, if you can look into it, because it raises questions, and it may raise eyebrows that somebody that was not contracted here in the city does donate to somebody running for office. That person gets elected for office, and wow, 6 months later, they get a contract. So, I mean, it's something to look into. I don't know if that's what you were referring to, Mayor.
Yeah, so
that's my concern when I'm thinking of that.
So Measure V from Alhambra does, so they're a little bit more strict. So they say contributions from developers, contractors, and political action committees to a candidate or committee primarily formed to support or oppose a candidate are prohibited.
So
I'm sorry, could you read that one more time, Mayor?
Yeah, so contributions from developers, contractors, and political action committees to a candidate or committee primarily formed to support or oppose a candidate are prohibited.
Okay.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'm certainly supportive of that language, as noted with the PACs or independents. But Robert, I think you have some homework to do, because you mentioned that may not be that might not be able to fall within that, but I certainly support that language that the mayor just mentioned. So if you could just do your due diligence, not only with them, but if we have to speak with another outside firm that works around this, I certainly, encourage you to do that, just so that way we're, everything's done properly.
Yeah, so I've been using Sean as a very good resource, and he pointed me to a lot of good areas. But I might, maybe if it's okay with the council, I may run this by one of our panel law firms, because they've got election lawyers, BBK, and some of those others. They have election lawyers that I could probably run this by them as well, if that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, we're not going to pass this tonight. I think you have some more homework to do. But we might as well bring everything out. I know Alhambra also has timeframes for so it's no candidate or office holder, the control committee of such a person or primarily formed committee, which will make any contribution and or independent expenditures in a municipal election shall accept any contribution except between 18 months prior to an election on December 31st. So we can set a time frame for collecting donations. And I think that might be also a good idea to make sure that, nobody's, getting a donation for a vote or anything, and also helps reduce that appearance of corruption. I would think maybe something from October or November, the year before election, up until January, February, so that if anybody fell in debt, they have that opportunity to fundraise a little bit more and pay off the debt for the committee.
Okay, I do think that is, I don't think there's any issue with time windows like that. I think you're right about that. So I will include a time window clause in our next ordinance that's coming to you at your next council meeting.
Yeah, and then the loan amount, I think, I know you're going to look into it, but I would rather do a little bit less. 10,000, I think, is what Alhambra did. You can look into it. We can go on an amount there. I know it's still going to come back for first reading, so we can change stuff.
The loan amount, I think you said the loan amount was 4,900.
Well,
I thought that's what Sean told me as well. I think that's correct, but I'm going to double check on that too, because that we do have some. I did look at some ordinances where they're above 4,900. So I'm going to make sure that we're very clear about that in our next draft.
Yeah, well, I think there's
so if it's above 4,900. Do you want it to be above 4,900, like 10,000 or whatever it is?
I'm fine with 10,000. You want to do 4,900? That's fine with me.
Fine with 10,000, Mr. Mayor, or 15.
Yeah, I think 10,000.
Well, look, honestly, if we're allowing anyone to give up to, we initially said 35,000 to give whatever. I would just say a loan up to 35,000 and let it be.
Okay, so I'm going to look at that to make sure there's no limit on loans at 4,900 that I
whatever that might be.
And if there is no limits, then I'm going to put it at 35,000 on a loan. Okay.
All right.
Well, so when you talk loan amounts, that's money that you're going to pay yourself back from fundraising, right?
From campaign funds. Yes,
and then there you have the personal funds, which is completely different. That you can use your own personal funds.
Personal funds are unlimited, based on the Supreme Court case. So if you want to give yourself money, as long as you're not going to pay it back with campaign funds, you can do that as much as you want. And again, that was a specific conversation that I had with Sean, because I had drafted it up differently at first. And once I sent it to him and we talked about it, he pointed me out to the Supreme Court case that says you can't limit that. So that's why I changed that.
Okay.
And just for the discussion here, as we're thinking about this, granted, elections are in November. People start to file their documents, I believe, in June or July. So so that basically gives a candidate, maybe six months of time to fundraise for a campaign under what we just talked about. Would that be accurate, Robert? With the time frame that the mayor mentioned, or maybe 7 months?
What the mayor had mentioned was October or November, the year before the election. So that would be So that would be a year before the election. These developers and vendors are going to be barred. And then they would be barred until like January or February after the election. So maybe another November, December, January, maybe another 3 months after the election.
So they're barred a year before and then a few months after.
And a few months after, yes.
Sorry. So we would be barring the developers, the contractors, everybody from donating to the in general. The time frame would be for fundraising. So you can fundraise from wherever you want as long as it goes under the rules during a specific time period.
So why, can I ask, Mr. Mayor, why put a time limit on that? Let just anyone fundraise when they want to fundraise.
Well, I think it helps with the idea of anybody getting a campaign donation between a vote, things like that. So,
but under the ordinance that we have is if they have any city business in front of us, they wouldn't be able to give us money anyways.
Yeah. So
that nullifies that issue. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I know that we're still looking at how completely we're barring the contractors. Still, I think, I don't know why anybody would be fundraising 3 years before an election. And it goes with looking at best practices. I know Alhambra did a really good job with theirs. So I'm just kind of following their lead. I thought ours was a little bit vague. So putting those things in place, I think is pretty good.
And just for your reference, Mr. Mayor, the reason why sometimes, like myself, I have a campaign committee open and I've fundraised throughout the year because I've used it to pay and buy things in the community from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically almost becomes an office holder account, which is completely all above board for the times that I've used it for those type of purposes. So that's why I say, when you just said, why does someone have to fundraise? Then those are the type of things that happen during that period of time.
Yeah. So you can make expenditures. I just don't see the need for fundraising in 3 years away from an election. There's other ways to do that besides an FPC committee.
No, that's it.
No, I think you can start a foundation. I think a lot of our electeds do that. If that's what you're doing it for the well-being and it's not political, then there shouldn't be an issue. So I personally,
I don't know about starting a foundation because that's pretty difficult. I've run a foundation, so I understand what has to happen around that.
Yeah.
But an example is, when we bought, or at least I bought or paid for the soccer team rings, I used my campaign for that.
Okay, that's fine. I think you can also do it out of pocket, can't you?
I have done it.
Well, there you go. So don't worry about it.
I do worry about it because I could certainly help fundraise and do greater things with other people.
Okay, and then you can fundraise for them. A lot of the have booster clubs. They have organizations that they're nonprofit. They can take the dollars. They don't have to go through your account. So I don't primarily think that's a necessity. Of course, we have other council members. It's up to them to decide. Obviously, there's one yes for limiting the timeline. There's one for no. Council, your opinions?
Thank you.
So we're bringing this back to modifications, correct?
Well, you have to. Well, we're still adding modifications, so we want to know what the direction is for the timeframes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Can we ask Robert to look into the office holder account and what other cities do with regard to the office holder account? And then that could also inform us, based on the conversation that you and Council Member Hernandez were just having. This way we know, because the office holders account, does have a little bit of a different purpose than, the campaign. So I'd be curious to know, what does Alhambra do, or what are some of these cities that we've referenced? What do they do with regard to office holders account? So Robert, can you look into that for us as part of your research?
So what do other cities, including Alhambra, do regarding office holder accounts? I can look at that.
Yeah, the cities that have been referenced in this report.
Yes.
Yeah, let's find out what they do. That'll at least inform us, if nothing else.
Okay.
Great. And then, of course, the penalty, I think, what it is, it's $500. So you can break this. So if I take $5,000 from somebody, all I have to do is pay the city $500 in a fine.
Oh no, that's why they and I did talk to Sean about that as well. That's why you have to do at least 1 day in jail. And he thought, look, people people will pay fines, but they don't want to spend a day in jail. And so, that's why he added that. That's why I added that.
Okay. So I know Alhambra is a little bit stricter. I don't know if he worked on the Alhambra. I know Alhambra would go as far as allowing somebody to be taken to court and then not allowing those votes to count. Obviously, I don't think we want to go that far, but we want to double check. So I know like the FEPC charges a percentage formula where if you, I think, fail to do something, they'll charge you a percentage of that or some sort of multiplication table formula. So
well, I did see some ordinances, Mayor, as I was looking at it, where they would do 3 times the donation violation. So, if you accept a donation for 5,000, then your fine is 15,000. So that would certainly be a deterrent. You wouldn't accept 5,000 to pay a fine of 15,000.
Yeah, because if it seems that all you have to do is pay $500, I don't think it would deter. It would be kind of deterring the little man, and everybody else could go on with that. So maybe find some other options as well, and then we can make a decision on those then.
Okay, so look at increasing the fines.
I like 3 times idea.
Maybe to a multiple of the violation, like 3 times. Okay, gotcha.
I think 3 times. I mean, that doesn't deter you.
Okay.
You say he does. Yeah.
Other things, Robert, is in regards to the protest period. I know we want to ship this off to the FPPC to do this work for us, and they have a whole process of adjudication, right?
Yes.
Right now, the ordinance, if I remember correctly, has our CEO or somebody else doing that adjudication. Is that correct?
Well, the way I have it written right now is the FPPC is going to do everything. So where the city's going to but you do have to contract with them, where they're going to accept complaints, they're going to prosecute complaints, and they're going to do the whole thing. As it's written now says, if for some reason a contract is not in place with the FPPC, for any reason, just we don't have a contract with them at that time or what happens, then it falls upon our city clerk and our CEO, because I know that the council had expressed the desire to keep the city attorney's office out of that sort of thing. And so that's why I put it like that. But the idea is that it's going to be the FPPC, and they're going to do everything: receive complaints, prosecute them, fines, everything.
And the adjudication, right? If there's a protest.
And the adjudication, if there's a protest and you get an opportunity to, file something to say, no, this really wasn't a violation, they would also adjudicate that as well.
Perfect. Sounds great. They do it all the time. So I support that.
Great. So I think those are all the ones. And then of course, I don't know if you have to clarify that it's also, any candidate or committee controlled by them. I think there's also limitations on those. So if somebody has, a multitude of committees, but that's something to double check with here. I can't explain it too well. I would say, however, that I think that this is a really important thing to do. A lot of the cities around us are doing it. I think it was important to bring it up now so that later on there's no, again, misconceptions of what's going on. Everybody's aware at the beginning of the year. We can continue working on it and pass it, but I would like to see this also on the ballot in November so that it gets reinforced by the community. We can pass something now and, in a couple of years, a council member can come in here and change it. I think that when the community speaks on it, it's a little bit more enforceable and it stays as it should.
Okay, so any candidate or a committee controlled by a candidate, and the idea is like straw committees or something like that. You want to make sure that that's included.
Yeah, so I think that there's some lingo.
That's already Mr. Mayor, that's already illegal already.
Yeah.
Already. So just be aware that that's already a big no-no regarding straw committees and so forth. And truth be told, the way it works is you also have to have a current campaign for the current election year or whatever that is that you have could only be used for those funds. So if there's a second committee from a previous year or something else, that second committee cannot be used if it's being controlled by the candidate, because the candidate could only control one committee for election cycle. That's already the law.
Yeah. Okay. Great. I think there's lingo in the Alhambra one. I couldn't find it, but there is a definition of what one person is. So one person sits on one well, we're banning a lot of organizations, but if they sit on one organization, they're also part of another board or something like that. Something to look into. I'll send you the lingo, Robert, and then we can bring it up at the next council meeting.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Great. So I think we'll make a motion to add the recommended changes, and of course, you're going to go do your homework and figure out what is feasible and what is not, and then we'll bring it back for a vote.
Thank you.
Great. So at this moment, I guess I'll make a motion with added direction. We will hold off on this reading till the next city council meeting, which is February 2nd.
Yes.
The second. Can I get? Did I say? Can I get? Sorry. Can I get a second? I said February 2nd. Huh? Can I get a second?
Didn't Mr. Damon second it?
I didn't hear.
I thought Councilmember Hernandez seconded.
Oh.
I'll second.
I heard a second, and it was a male voice.
I heard a second, but I'll second.
Okay, I'll second then.
Okay. Okay. City Clerk, roll call, please.
Okay, who seconded? Just to be sure.
I think Danny said it first. So Mayor,
Okay,
He did.
good, because that's who I wrote down. Okay. Mayor Estrada,
yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Daniel Damian,
Yes.
Councilmember Alejandra Avila,
Yes.
Councilmember Monica Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Paul Hernandez.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Did you guys just change the vote? Because I think that Councilmember Hernandez did second, and I think Councilmember or Mayor Pro Tem Damian acknowledged that.
No, thank you, Councilmember Garcia, but no, I did not actually say anything in regards to the second. On this one.
Oh, got it. Okay.
I don't know who that was. Maybe it was, I think it was Councilmember, Vice Mayor Damian.
Okay. All right. Just want to make sure.
I think it's when the mayor said February 2nd.
I think that's what it was.
Second.
And then I caught myself and I said, "Can I get a February 2nd?" And I was like, "What am I?"
Yes. I think that's what.
You can only do that for February, Mayor.
Yeah.
Other than that.
That's a good one. I'll do that at the next meeting. So, okay, so we're all done with our agenda. Very good. We got some good stuff done. I did have a couple of requests, as you could see. I took up a portion of the page. So I just wanted to make sure that we start working on more of our efforts to invest in infrastructure. I know the air duct in our facilities was on the list to clean up. And as we're trying to keep air quality good and clean, we want to make sure we work on that. We already talked about safe parking sites. On the citywide toilet replacement, I know that we also talked about city facilities. City facilities, a lot of our facilities are a lot older. Many of our toilets, I think, are a pretty good amount of years old. I think I would say they're at least 10 years old. Would you think that, Sam?
Sorry, Mayor, I was on mute and turned off. Yeah, absolutely. There, some of them are maybe even older.
Great.
And
oh, yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I know that they look a little old. So do our fountains. I know I've seen some of them are still at 2.2 gallons per minute, which is a lot considering that we could be at 1 point or 0.75 gallons per minute. So I want to and of course we are in a drought. So we want to spearhead those efforts as well, conserve water here in the San Gabriel Valley. So I do want to give staff that direction to start working on the toilets for city facilities. And then I know we've been talking with PD and doing everything that we can. Chief, I brought this up to you a couple of days ago. I want to see if we can partner with Ring on a distribution program. I think that you guys might have already started looking into that on your own.
Yes, sir.
Possibility, we'd love to do that. I think the neighbors would appreciate it. And then if possible, even expand it to our business owners, because I know that those are some of the hotter spots that we can help, that can help us get some important surveillance footage out there. And then I have been speaking to some of the community churches. Churches do have nonprofit arms where they offer a lot of services. I spoke to St. John's after La Posada, and I heard that they had a lot of mental health resources available for the community at wide without having to be a parishioner there. If that's something that we're able to partner with on churches with the programs that they have, I think it would be a lot easier for us to offer those services and resources rather than having to reinvent the wheel and starting to create new programs here when they're already set up and running elsewhere in the community. And then Chief, I did want to ask you for report on the status of internal affairs in the police department. Whichever way you feel most comfortable sending that to us, either through a memo or a staff report. I think it is important for us to know, what we're working on, what needs work, what you need from the council to help you out, and also, what our police department is looking at. Where are we lacking? How many more officers do we need to hire? Task force and anything else that is crucial and how it affects us. I know that earlier we talked about asset forfeitures. Can't even speak today, and how they would help fund the department and upgrade critical infrastructure. So we want to know about that as well. I know that that's not really happening right now. So overall, just a general inquiry into the PD.
Yes, on the internal affairs, that is something that we'd have to do in closed session if it's to discuss incidents or discuss personnel issues. That would be in closed session, but a general idea as to internal affairs process, like we could discuss that. How the complaints are how the intake is done, and then what the investigative process occurs, so the community understands how they're looked at. I'm not sure, so maybe if you need some clarification, I would need some clarification from you to understand what you're really looking for.
And Chief and Mayor, yes. I had an opportunity to speak with Chief briefly about this. And internal affairs, that's a sort of a term of art within the police department. Internal affairs account for, internal affairs investigations, internal affairs procedures. Those things are personnel issues, and I don't think that's what the mayor, I don't hear that's what you want, Mayor. It sounds like you're asking for more general things like, staffing and what you're doing with asset forfeiture and, things that are internal to the department, Chief, but not necessarily internal affairs, because internal affairs is that term of art that deals with very private personnel issues that cannot really be discussed hardly at all. So is that my understanding, Mayor? Am I correct? So general internal issues within the department, like what you just identified, but not necessarily internal affairs investigations and things of that nature?
Yes, so I agree. So none of that internal stuff, more of the infrastructure, your needs, what the council could do, where we're lacking funding, how the task force works, how that impacted your ability to fund the department, the sort of how many positions have been opened, how many have been able to hire, what are the difficulties with that, and everything like that. And also, you can even add, I think, what you've been working on, because I know you've been here for a year, and I think, you've been doing a lot. And I do think that, we want to recognize you in public and also be transparent with the public so that they know that, PD is stable, we're working on things. But I think it's also important for the public to understand the complexity of the police department, right? You can't just go out and hire an officer. It takes, a year, I think, just to the background, right?
Yes, sir.
So there's a lot of things. And I think this way we create that transparency with the community that they are looking for.
Yes,
it also informs them of what the processes are to get to a better level.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Great, thank you. So that was all my requests.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Avila.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for all your requests. Those are all great requests. I do have a follow-up question for Ben. We had discussed this before, the Target parking lot, the sign that's off of the Mosquito entrance. It still has not been cleaned, and I know you were in communication with them. It's not cleaned, and also if we can have more enforcement in our parking lots. One that comes to mind immediately is the CVS right there on Mosquito and Baldwin Park Boulevard. There's a lot of trash everywhere, and also I know it's probably, if you can talk to the property owner, the section of the parking lot gets flooded. That when you go into that parking lot, there's only one little section you can go through because it's flooded right at the corner of Baldwin Park Boulevard and Mosquito. And not only that, it's very dirty. So we can inspect all of our businesses, the parking lots, to make sure they're keeping them clean. The areas where they hold their trash. I like the way Pollo Loco has their area for the big trash bin. They have it covered with plants and bushes, so you don't even know that the trash can is there. So if we can do something so that all the businesses are doing that, it would make our businesses look nicer. So we can work on that, Ben. And like I said, I know you're working on the Target problem. Sorry. But if you can follow up to see where they're at with that and get those parking lots cleaned up, please. Thank you,
I
Ben.
will, thank you. Yeah, the idea was to try to get Target to allow our graffiti crew to take care of the problem immediately. So we're working on that, and I'll be talking to Sam about that. And maybe some of the other shopping centers would also like to do that as well, so that we immediately address the graffiti at a poor fee. And then we can take care of it more quickly, because the sign, the tagging on those Target signs is just constant. So yes, following up on that. And it's funny you mentioned the flooding at CVS, because I've experienced that myself. That I don't know what happened there, but I'll follow up with planning and engineering and see if anything can be done. I've experienced that myself in previous years. It's a strange problem.
And I know all of our departments have been impacted, Ben, Sam, especially both of your departments with COVID and you being short staffed. So I understand this past 2 weeks have been difficult for everybody. And so I hope everybody gets better really soon so that we can get our departments up and going and keep the city looking nice, because you guys do an amazing job. Don't think that I'm picking on you. By all means, I am not. I understand, and Enrique did notify us that we have had some cases, and I understand you're short. So I hope they all get better really soon.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I did. Oh, yes, go ahead, Councilmember Lee.
Yeah, I just had a couple of things. First off, Sam, did we already obtain the new street sweeper?
No, so the street sweeper was approved by City Council. We have the funding and we placed the order for the new sweeper. So there's a 3-month lead time, so we'll have it in about 2 to 3 months.
Okay, only because I'm getting complaints about the streets being dirtier after the street sweeper passes by. I guess it's past its time.
Yeah, we have one street sweeper that it's well beyond its useful life, and that's the one that is being replaced. Again, the order has been placed, and it's just waiting for it to arrive.
Perfect. And then, Chief, parking enforcement. I've got a complaint. I know that I believe, Mayor, that you were copied on the email that they sent me, a resident who lives off of Stewart, and I believe it's the Rockenback area. He goes out for daily walks down towards Stewart, Los Angeles Street, Baldwin Park Boulevard, kind of that area there. And there's a lot of vehicles that are blocking the sidewalk. So, example, if they don't fit in the driveway, they just kind of park halfway in the driveway and the other halfway is coming out towards the sidewalk. So it doesn't allow for any type of pedestrians to walk through there. They have to kind of walk out to the street, which, for anybody who's ADA, on a wheelchair or anything like that, they're not going to be able to get through there. So if we can start enforcing that. And then Sam, also the complaint was from there, and I know this myself, I experienced it a lot because I live off of Stewart, close to Live Oak. And when the people are coming home from work, they use that Stewart area a lot. And so I've experienced it a lot, not only with traffic, but when they have the ability to speed, they speed by there a lot. So I don't know what we can do to kind of monitor, how many vehicles, if there's a lot of speeding going on there, because there is a lot of children that are in that area. And that's one of the complaints that I did get. So maybe if we can look into that. And I do have the residents' information just in case you want to touch base with them. I'll forward that to you in an email. And the last couple of things, Mayor, were, I know I didn't add these to the agenda, but I wanted to see, have a future discussion about term limits and if we need to add those on the ballot as well. And then apart from that, one of the requests that you had with the different churches and the services that they provide, I would like to see how we as a city can create a manual, a handbook, a Bible of services, something where we can kind of team up with all of the organizations, nonprofit and church organizations in the city, and see what it is that they provide, what days and times, so that we have a resource book of where we can send certain people, certain days, for example, St. John's may have something, twice a week, Church of the Redeemer may have something else, kind of work with all of them and kind of put it all together in a book to where we have that resource guide, whether it's digital or not. And that way, if someone needs assistance for whatever it is, we know where to point them to. Because I've come across a lot of situations where we've had to look for different services for different community members. And it's been a hassle trying to make phone calls and being directed to different areas. Although Manny and our Parks and Recreation Department do an excellent job, we can only do so much. And I think that if we kind of combine our efforts, we can get a lot more done. So if we can start looking into that, if you need me to start the conversation and reaching out to different organizations and church groups, I would be more than happy, Manny, or whoever is going to, handle this, to start making those conversations and setting up the appointments so we can get that going.
Mayor?
Yes, Mayor.
Sorry.
Councilmember Avila.
I have a little concern. I understand Sweeper Day is a concern for everybody. And I have seen the driveways blocked, but there's a lot of families that have multiple families living in a home. And that's why they get their drive. I've had complaints opposite that they get ticket for blocking the driveway when in reality there's nowhere else for them to park their car during Sweeper Day. Maybe make it that they park until the sweeper goes by and then they're able to put it back on the street, because there's a time limit from, for example, from 7 to 11 or 7 to 12, you can't park on the street. But let's say the sweeper goes by right at 8 o'clock, then you can move your car back out on the street and possibly not cite these people. We need to figure out something that's going to work for everybody, because again, if we have multiple families living in a household that possibly don't work on Wednesdays, or they work nights, or whatever the reason that they have all these vehicles and nowhere to park, we need to find a solution. What do we do instead of just citing them? Because I've heard the opposite, like I said, that they're getting cited because they're blocking the driveway, but yet they have nowhere else to park their car. So if we can find a better solution than start citing, and that way we can accommodate both, that they're not blocking the driveway the whole time, and they're not getting ticketed.
And just
we can brainstorm.
And just an idea, Councilmember Avila. I don't know, we do it in our neighborhood. Sometimes there's no parking out in the street. I mean, during street sweeping time. And so what we'll do is, the neighbors will share each other's driveway. There's times where I have people parking in my driveway, just so that they don't get ticketed. But that way, the street sweeper passes by, then they can move the car afterwards. But that may be an idea. I mean, obviously not every neighbor is going to want to do that, but that is an option. Parking is just an issue, period, in our city. But, sometimes we have to start getting creative and think outside the box. And if you do have a good relationship with your neighbor, maybe it would be a good idea to kind of see, who is not home, who has space, and park your car in their driveway.
Or just not ticket the people that are on the street if the sweeper went by, because you can tell when the sweeper has gone by already. It's very obvious. You could see the sweeper marks on the street. So let's say somebody decides to park on the street already after it passed and code enforcement passes by. Why ticket them when they've already been by? And that's the whole idea, to make sure that we're accommodating both. Because let's say there's somebody that doesn't even talk to their neighbors, and there's people like that, they're very private. They're not going to want to go ask the neighbor. I actually go around the corner to park at a neighbor's house because we don't have enough room. So I'm able to do that, but not everybody will be able to do that. So we can find a solution. I'm sure we could do it. And then with the ADUs coming in, the situation is going to get worse. So if we can just brainstorm and figure out what we can do for those that need to park temporarily in the driveway, before the sweeper comes, and then move the cars back out and just not get a ticket, since we can tell when they've gone by. Thank you.
Okay. So I did jot down 2 more things, and I think they are very important. I think it would be important for the city to do an RFP for somebody to lobby on our behalf at the state capitol. This would help us tremendously, bringing in more money, more funds, more opportunities for the city. in many ways. I think it's pretty common for cities to have one. We don't have one. I don't think we've ever had, but a lot of our neighboring cities do, and I think it pays for itself. We have a great grant writer. I know our staff does tremendously well at grant writing as well, but having a lobbyist at the state capitol, I think it also benefits us tremendously. And then I know that we've talked about expanding our network, our fiber capabilities. And it would be Sam. I would like to direct Sam to look into it. I think the main operator here in the city, I think they are classified as I forgot what they're classified as, but that allows us to work with them without having to go through an RFP. We can see what it could cost to expand our internet capabilities, and that would actually benefit our communities greatly, expanding their access to quality internet services. As we know, a lot of kids are at home and they rely on it. And this way, they're not just relying on one cable company. They can now expand. I know a lot of cell phone companies are now offering 5G internet. So doing something like this would allow them to, instead of paying, cable, which is kind of going through the roof right now, they can try to find a service with just as good of a capability at a lower price. Great. So thank you for that. I know that was a long list. Staff, thank you. I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but Sam and Public Works, thank you, because I know you were also out there at Kaiser with our PD and you were putting up signs, helping out. And then Manny, I know you took the lead and helped bring in a testing and vaccination site at Morgan to help in hopes that we could ease the traffic out there and get people to come over here. So thank you, staff, for coming back and working diligently since day one. We appreciate it. So at this point, council and some of our directors will move into a closed session. So meeting won't be adjourned, but good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Hi, Mayor. You have finance and housing?
Oh, you're correct. Sorry. So meeting's not adjourned. So we have the Baldwin Park Finance Authority virtual regular meeting, and we have a consent calendar. And then we also have a consent calendar for the Housing Authority. So I will make a motion to pass both consent calendars simultaneously. Can I get a second?
Second.
City Clerk, roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Estrada,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Daniel Damian,
Yes.
Councilmember Alejandra Avila,
Yes.
Councilmember Monica Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Paul Hernandez.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. Thank you for that. And thank you for that, Chief Deputy City Clerk. As I said earlier, I will see council in closed session.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.